Today we are going to Olsen Creek on the other side of the Bridger Range. So this is Bozeman right here. That's south. That is north. So this is the I-90. We're going to go take the 86 and park at the trailhead. And we're going to take Olsen Creek, which is a nice, easy ride. And then we're going to go up to the lookout here where people camp and picnic. And then we're probably going to drop back here and take this route back. So out to the canyon, take this loop, drop back, should be about an hour ride. All right, here we are at the trailhead. It's open May 16th to just about everybody. Horses, hikers, mountain bikers, jeepers, side-by-sides. This is a really good place to learn how to ride. Really beautiful up in here. It goes back and forth between Forest Service road and private property, but as long as you stay on the track, it should be okay. Okay, it's about 11:45. Let's see how long this loop takes. Of course, I'm on the 350 today. This bike's got a lot more power. It's also got engine braking, which you have to get used to. When you lift the gas, the nose dives. Unlike the 300 that kind of freewheels. It's also quite a bit noisier. But it's fast. So you really got to be paying attention. Alright, I'm going to slow down a little bit. Often there's cattle on this road, so I don't want to come around the corner and crash into that. And if you're not flying, you can see deer and elk in here. Definitely bears. Super beautiful valley. So if you're a first timer, beginner, something like that, this is a great place to ride. There's not a lot of people out here. It's a nice flat road. It's gravel mostly. This is one of the first trails that I took when I moved out here. Recommendations of my friends. You see a lot of kids out here, you know, families, people on quads, small side-by-sides, little dirt bikes. I see a lot of 50s, 80s out here. Nice easy trail. This is an older sign. It still means you're open May 16th to December 1, even though it has a slash through the bikes. Not sure why that is. And then over here we have private property sign. That just means that you need to stay on the path for the next 2 miles until you get to state-owned land, in which case you can get off and camp. Just over that post you can see the Gallatin Mountains. So we're at the top pretty much. From here you can see almost the entire valley. So Olsen Creek Road, Bridger Mountains. this is the beginning of a single track that goes over the mountain to the Bangtail intersection, the Bangtail Fork. I've taken this road this way, this single track this way. Lots of mountain bikes, really fun, really tight. Since I'm on the big bike, probably not going to do this today. I think I'm going to take the 507. But once you take the 504 over the mountain, it continues down there. Super fun. I always see mountain bikers come ripping through here and jump into the trees. A lot of fun on a dirt bike as well. So 504 Bangtail Divide off of Olsen Creek. Okay, here's another fun trail. This is the 507 I was talking about. The sign is gone. Where we're going is across this ridge over here. So the 507 drops down into the valley, crosses over a creek, comes back up on the other side and meets. So what we're going to do today is we're going to continue on the forest road. This is all public land now. And we're going to ride all the way down to the lookout. We'll check that out, and we'll come back and drop down on the 507 and come back to this point. This one's actually got a sign. You can see it points that direction. So we basically just rode around the valley. On the way back, we're going to drop down into this fun little trail, take the loop. But before we go, there's a lookout over there. We're going to ride up to the lookout and take a look around the backside of the valley here. Super gorgeous. So it is a Wednesday, but I haven't seen anyone up here. Just the one vehicle, that camper. But that's it. That is the road that we came in on. Right in front of me are the Bridgers, named after Jim Bridger, an explorer. And if you can see the peak, there's two little peaks with a draw in the middle. That is Sacagawea and Nuki. Those are Indian guides that helped Lewis and Clark back in the day with their explorations around the valley. So behind me, that would be north, are rather the Crazy Mountains. You can see where the snow is. Might be able to see Crazy Peak. So those are the Crazies. To my left are the Bridgers. You can also see in the valley there's a road that goes down to Livingston. And Livingston continues on down to Gardner. Gardner is the old school entrance to Yellowstone. It's the one with the wood and stone arch that they've used for thousands of years to show people going in and out of the park. The road goes around it now, but you can go down there and take photos and park your car in there if you want. It's still probably 60 miles south of where we are right now to get to Yellowstone. So you might be able to see in that cut right there, there's a trail. That's the 507 we talked about before. There's also a cut right here you can see. That's also the 507. You can see that it goes through here and then pops up on the road that we entered on. So right now we're up on a lookout. You can see here, people camp up here. There's a fire. You can camp again for 16 days if you want. It's pretty gorgeous. Kind of windy right now. Olsen Creek, Montana. Okay, next stop is the 507. Okay, headed back. We were up there and we just cruised around the valley. Now we're going to take the 507 back. it's sandy, downhill, some rocks, lots of pine trees. You can see in here that there's quad tracks. I'm going to argue that there's probably hunters come down here more often than bikes. So a little choppy coming down, but I know going up the other way on the other side there's some good flow there. This, of course, is the trail that you can see from the lookout up there from us. This is why I brought the 350 today, because long trails like this with whoops, lots of open spaces is really fun to ride. Not so much when it gets tight. So in case you're wondering, it's middle of July. So everything's still really green. We had a lot of great snow. But it's hot, so things are going to start to turn yellow, I think. Great little pine forest in here. Smells really good. Alright, some first gear downhill stuff. Rocks, branches, and then directly to uphill. So sometimes I get asked, or we talk about why I go downhill in first gear with the clutch in instead of neutral. And that's why right there. This is the flow state I was talking about before. Going up the other side of this mountain is so fun. All right, we're back up on the road. So that's it, Olsen Creek to the lookout to the 507, comes back around. Beautiful area. It's just after 2 o'clock, so that was a couple hours. About 3.5 total to do that loop. So the afternoon storm's coming in. I can hear it, it's starting to get windy. So I'm gonna head back to the truck. Thanks for watching. Respect the trails, get up and ride.